Hello, my name is Kevin Beaumont and I'm going to fly to everywhere called Grimsby. Now, for those of you who don't know, I come from a town, a village, a town I think, in North East Links in the UK called Grimsby. I say come from, I've lived, this sounds super egotistical, I've lived all over the world. I've lived in a lot of places. My parents are in the RAF, so I've moved all over the place. Um, but I'd say my teenage years, my preteen years maybe, I grew up in Grimsby, so I was there for about 8 years. It was actually in a village on the outskirts, but let's not get into that for the details. For this video, I've decided that I'm going to visit every place on earth called Grimsby. So we're going to start with this town called Grimsby, which is actually named after uh, Grimsby in North East Lincolnshire, where I'm from in England. So a town, I understand I think it's 1806, it was named Grimsby. It's near Toronto in Canada. So I'm going to fly from Toronto to Grimsby to check it out. So I've already made a mistake. I've just spawned in. The mistake I've made is that I thought I was flying from Toronto to Grimsby. I selected Grimsby as my location, and so we've spawned in Grimsby. So this is Grimsby in Canada. I'm sat on the airstrip. I think it's just one runway, so this looks like a pretty small place. Let's try and get off the ground. I'll take my parking brake off. Gotta move my cup of tea. Kind of can't see over the cockpit of this runway, sorry, of this plane, so I'm panicking a little bit because of the way the plane is set up. Right, I'm going to pull up, I'm going to take my flaps up, correct my altimeter, or however the hell it's pronounced. Okay, so this is Grimsby. So that's certainly the airport. I think Grimsby is actually towards the north, so I'm just going to spin round. Well, the detail in this game is absolutely incredible. Look at this. So I believe that Grimsby is a town on the coast, so towards the north. So if I just zoom out on my map, yeah, so I'm heading towards the coast. So let's have a look around. Now I believe it's a coastal village, like Grimsby is in England. I'm actually just going to turn off. I'm just going to turn off the communications there because I don't want to deal with air traffic control shouting at me for behaving unethically. I've just seen it flying off into the distance towards Grimsby. So I believe Grimsby is this town down here. From my very brief research, which involved using Google, Bing, to look up Grimsby, I'm just joking about Bing, nobody uses Bing. So, that there's a ridge. So Grimsby, I should be able to dive down. Yeah, I think that down there is the town of Grimsby. Has a population of about 35,000 from my limited research. You can see a tree line there, and then it should drop right down. If I spin round, kind of doesn't look like it does in the pictures. On the pictures it looks like a slight ridge rather than a bunch of trees going down. But the rest of this looks pretty good. I might just need to swing around. You can see a boat over there. If I swing back around, so it's a coastal town like Grimsby is in North East Lincolnshire in the UK, which we'll get to soon. The Grimsby that I come from is nowhere near disorganised. Like, we don't have like a main street and all this organisation. You'll see later on in this video the Grimsby that I come from, and the town planning appears to have been just build wherever. Just, you know, have a roundabout there, just leave some fields there and then build some more things. America's much more, I'm saying America, Canada and America, but Canada appears to be much more structured in how they build things. I'm almost certain there will be a street called Main Street because that appears to be how things work over there. So I could see some parks, I could see some what looked like play areas, I could see, I think there was a football stadium and certainly a school down there by the looks of it. Some businesses, some warehouses, lots and lots of houses, obviously. So yeah, so this looks pretty much as I expected, to be honest. It looks pretty close to the pictures. I think the only thing I'd say is that from what I've seen, where the tree line is there, that should actually be like a cliff edge rather than trees growing out of a cliff edge. That doesn't really make sense, but that's apparently something that's happening. So, Grimsby near Toronto in Canada, I salute you. I was going to make jokes about how North East Links Grimsby is better, but actually flying over it looks like a very nice place to live. I'm suitably impressed. I'm going to go and land now at Grimsby Airport. I'm probably going to cut this bit out of the video because my landings are generally appalling, and I wouldn't want to subject you to that. I also have the air traffic control turned off, so I turned off the communication systems. I can't actually tell them that I'm going to come in and land. However, the airport does appear to be a single runway in what feels like essentially the middle of nowhere, so I don't think they're really going to care, if I'm honest. But if the police come after me, be quite exciting, really. Okay, let's try and land at Grimsby near Toronto in Canada airport. It's possible I might stall out here. I am approaching from far too high. I shouldn't be doing that. The gear permanently stays down on this aircraft, so that makes things a little bit easier. Oh, I almost hit those trees. Come on, let's me use my Grimsbys ways. Oh, there's a possibility I might land on the grass here. I definitely touched the grass. I've missed the runway. Oh, I think in real life I would have damaged the airplane a little bit then. Okay, let's try and slow down a little bit. Let's use the brake. Yeah! Let's pretend that didn't happen. Let's just quietly shut off the engine. That went well. Okay, so we're just going to pretend that landing didn't happen like that. We're now going to be going to Grimsby, which is in Illinois, in America. So we're going to take off from an airport called Rydalman. I'm not actually sure where the runway strip is. Oh, it's just a field. So we're going to take off from a field, and then we're going to fly west to slightly southwest. I'm going to have to try and navigate by just flying around in essence here. I'll be honest, I don't really know where Grimsby is in this location. All I know is what I've seen on a map. So let's just take off. So let's do this. Put our throttle up. Let's turn off the brake. Let's speed down this grass track because apparently that's the airport for Rydalman. Oh, let's not crash into the buildings. That would be embarrassing. I don't know how accurate this is. If anybody comes from Rydalman Airport, in quotes, then it's quite a nice place. I like the lake. Let's pull up, and essentially, I think if I keep heading forward, I should end up in Grimsby in Illinois. So I'm kind of excited to see this one. Whoa! Oh, there's a possibility I might crash. Okay. Well, I don't know if I'll edit that bit out, or how I would edit that bit out. Let's try and take back off from this field. I'm actually kind of near the airport that I just took off from. So the mistake I made there was that I was too busy chattering. I was not paying attention to the speed of the aircraft, which was frankly not good enough. The speed is still frankly not good enough. I think there's a possibility I might, well, there's a definite probability I will fly through some trees now, but thanks to video games, it appears I will survive. I also just realised that I still have my flaps down, which may have caused some of the slight issues we've seen there. So I'm just going to pretend that I'm not flying through some trees here. Right, my speed is approaching. Okay, so I'm at 100 kilometers per hour, which should let me sensibly cruise now. So I think if I head down here a little bit, I should be heading towards the town of Grimsby. Now, I'm trying to remember the wording, so I googled this, and on Wikipedia it said something like it's an unregistered community or something like that. That was the only thing that I could find out about Grimsby.
City Center, Robin Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf
we've got the
Sierra
same problem.
Robin Cap 10 1 miles northwest of 4 India Lima 8. Request flight following. Robin Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra Kansas City.
Okay, so sorry, I just had to turn off the comms there because that's gonna. It's slightly annoying on a video. So I think Grimsby is south of this lake that we have here coming up. I'm not entirely sure though. This is a conundrum. Should I just keep flying this direction? Okay, so I've just been and cheated a little bit by looking at a map on a separate window. I think along the edge of this lake is Grimsby. So I think possibly down here is Grimsby. So Grimsby in Illinois. I'm just going to slow down a little bit because I'm speeding a little bit too much there. And I also want to look around. I think Grimsby in Illinois, judging by the fact that there was almost nothing on Wikipedia or the internet for it, I think it's quite a small place. So from the map, it looked like it was hanging off the edge of a lake. So if I was a gambling man, I would say somewhere around here is Grimsby in Illinois. It could be those houses down there. In which case they have some dirt tracks nearby and a very, very fancy lake. I'm not making fun of this because, like, look at the scenery here. This place would be amazing to live at because there's just nothing here particularly. I mean, there's a local airport which doesn't have an airstrip, it's just a field. And then there's some forests. So, I mean, it would be a slight problem for me to live at, or live in, I guess, because, I mean, I can't drive. I haven't got a license to drive. I don't think they have Uber Eats here. I don't think they have like 1 hour Amazon Prime delivery here. So I mean, personally I would be in a little bit of trouble. I'm not sure they yet have the internet here. I will find out if anybody from Grimsby in Illinois contacts me via email, because they'll probably be very upset by now. But I mean, it's a very, very good looking place. Assuming I found it in the forests that's here. I know certainly from looking at the map, there was definitely a lake, and it was hanging off the end of a lake. It looked like the south of a lake, so I think I'm just going to go back and just check. But if I've made this video correctly, and there's every chance I haven't because I'm me, then down here is Grimsby in Illinois. I'm going to have to ask my friend Lawrence Brown if he's been here and if he knows if this is the right location. It's possibly, you know, a location around here somewhere, but I think we're probably very close. So there's a car floating off the ground down there, which looks super realistic. They've got hover cars in Grimsby. I mean, they haven't yet got Uber Eats, but they do have hover cars, which is very impressive. Like in Grimsby, where I came from, we did not have hover cars. I think there's maybe 7 houses down there. I mean, I wonder if they have a shop. Like, where do they buy toilet roll and nappies? Do they have toilet roll and nappies in America? I don't know. Where do we go next? I'm very much debating trying to land in Grimsby, in Illinois. Let's see if I can manage it. I'd say that's a successful landing, really. What more could you want? I survived. Okay, so now we're going to Norway. So we're in Norway right now. This is the real weather. We can see other players flying around this particular area of Norway, which is kind of interesting. I thought I actually saw a player on the runway here. I'm on a tiny runway in Norway. There is a town apparently here called Grimsby, or a village, I'm not quite sure. I looked online and I couldn't find anything on Wikipedia about this place other than the fact that this town called Grimsby exists. So let's do this, let's take off. So we need to turn around after we take off and head to our right. So we're going to be heading southeast towards Grimsby. It's on the end of the second lake that we shall come across. As you can see, the weather is not great for this, so the cloud looks particularly low. So we might have some issues here, but we'll see. I did think about altering the weather, because you can alter the weather in game if you don't want the real weather. So you can cheat. However, real athletes don't cheat. I don't know where I'm going with that one. Pretend it's funny. In my head it wasn't either, but we'll go with it. It's quite a nice runway. It's actually got several... well, it's actually got tarmac for one thing, so that's not from the previous one. It has multiple runways, and there's planes there. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool little local place, this. But I think the location we're going to, we should be able to reach within about 2 minutes. I'm just going to alter some settings on my airplane here because it's I'm kind of having to fight it in the weather. How we're going to actually see Grimsby, I don't know. But this is the general area. I think I just need to head a little bit more this direction. There should essentially be a lake, which we're heading towards right now. Just slow down a little bit. Fighting the aircraft a little bit here. So there's a lake down here, and then I think it's the second lake along. So I think it's basically, if we spin around a little bit, I think Grimsby in Norway is these houses here. I do believe. I might have got this slightly wrong, but it's in the general. So this is Grimsby in Norway. There's a car driving past, so they have cars in this super realistic video game. They have what looks like a school, maybe. Lots of farmland. This is pretty much exactly as I expected Norway to look. There's a whole bunch of lovely places. There's possibly a church down there, maybe. They have terrible weather, like the real Grimsby does. I said the real Grimsby, I just mean the Grimsby in North East Lincolnshire, so I'm not criticising anything or anyone here, but our Grimsby is better in North East Lincolnshire. No, I'm joking. Our Grimsby, we're going to get to that at the end of this video. In fact, I think it's the next place, because there's only 4 places on Earth called Grimsby. So we've only got one left. There's a truck driving rather erratically down there. They have a massive lake, and they are surrounded by trees. This would be a pretty sweet place to live, because you're not too remote. You've got a really cool airport nearby. you've got a massive lake, you've got trees, you've got your own truck to steal. You know, if you're playing Grand Theft Auto or you're a delinquent, I don't know. This, and it feels like you know, Thor and the Avengers might live here. So I think this is a pretty sweet Grimsby. I'm suitably impressed. I also hope that I'm in the right area. I think I am. Just for the sake of reference, just in case I made a mistake, I'm also going to fly a little bit this direction. I know it was on the second lake from where I took off. So, I mean, I guess there's a possibility that Grimsby would be here, in which case it's 3 houses. But I'd prefer it to be the one over there. So, you know, either way, this is a pretty sweet location. I might also try and land on this road just because I can. Put my flaps down. There are cars on the road, so I'm just going to hope that they're going to move out the way. There's not a lot of runway. Oh, there's a truck. Oh no. Don't hit me. Well, that went well. Okay, so this is the big one. So I'm now in North East Lincolnshire. I'm going to call it the big one. As you're going to see, it's a pretty small town, but it's where I grew up from. So, you know, when I was there, I thought it was like this big city. And then I've lived in actual cities, and I realised it's not so big for the city. So we're going to take off from Linden's farm, which, again, not really an airport, it's an airstrip as it calls itself here. We're just going to take the parking brake off because that would seem sensible. And then we're going to head towards the east, which I think we're going to wildly veer off course. So we're just going to keep going towards the tree line. And then we're going to head east, which I think should point us towards Grimsby. Now this is going to be quite nostalgic for me because I grew up in this area. So when I was in my pre-teen years, this was all I knew of the world. So the other day I did take a quick tour. Yeah, I saw the house that I used to live in. If there's time, I may swing past that area. I haven't yet been back. So I saw the primary school that I went to. I haven't yet seen the secondary school that I went to. When I went there, it's called Healing Comprehensive School. It's now called Healing Science Academy. I'm still in contact with different school friends that I went to there. Oh, we're flying past a wind turbine, which I'm hopefully not going to hit. I do not know if there's a real wind turbine there in the real world. I do know that in Grimsby they did build some wind turbines in this general area. So I'm going to have to navigate here. We're going to have to do the same thing that we do every time. Okay, so I've turned the comms off because I don't want the ATC talking to me. I've actually, the red lines that you see there are for landing at a different airport called North Coates, which is in the area. Now, in the distance, so below me, I think, if I'm orientated correctly, this may be the village of Laceby. I might be wrong about that. I'm trying to orientate myself. No, I'm not sure that this is Laceby looking at it. So, Laceby is in this general area anyway. So I grew up in this area. In the distance, that is Grimsby. Yeah, so this is literally Grimsby. So where I grew up, I thought this was a really big town. And then I left Grimsby and I discovered not so much. So, you know, the joys of youth. So I do have many fond memories of Grimsby there. A bit of history about Grimsby, from what I know, which is not very much despite living here. It used to be called itself the fishing capital of Europe. there are still, I think, some signs around suggesting that. It's not so much nowadays because the fishing industry, for reasons I don't understand, basically collapsed in Grimsby. So so yeah, that's not really a thing now. There is a fishing museum, well there was when I grew up, down here I think. Down there is, I think, the fishing museum. Don't know if it still is or not. There's still some like warehouses for like Finder's fish, that kind of thing. So they do fish packing, I believe, in Grimsby, or maybe processing or something. And you can see some residential houses, and then in the areas around Grimsby there are basically little villages that hang off the side. So I grew up in a village called Laceby, which is over in, just orientate myself, up here somewhere should be Laceby, and one of the villages on the outside. There is a main road, if I look I might be able to find it, that leads out of Grimsby. I think it's actually the road that I'm facing towards now. This main road, as I call it, there was like one bus a day that came to Laceby, the village that I lived in. Laceby isn't actually that far away, like you could walk it in this way for about 40 minutes, you could walk into Grimsby, but still there was pretty much, I think, one bus a day that came to take you to the main town. I'm pretty sure that this is the route, so if I trace this, right, I'm going to try and trace this to Laceby, and then I'm going to try and trace across to Grimsby, sorry, to Healing, so I can show you the school that I went to. So this is like a gardening centre. My nan used to live back there, so there's a bungalow back there. That's where my nan lived. And then if we keep going down this main road, this is where the bus stop was, just down here. And then off to the right, this is Laceby, so this is actually where I grew up. If I just swing round and up. So just down there where I'm looking now, that big field, there's a house attached to that on the corner, just down there. That's where we used to live as children, and then that big field is where we used to play. So me and my brother would go into that big field. There was like an old, I forget what it's called, a bomb shelter that we used to hang around in, and we used to have a Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles fan club, and other things. There was also a sewage works. I'm not sure if you can actually see it from here, but yeah, so that, just where I'm looking right now, that's old house. So when I went to secondary school, I used to go to just down there where I'm looking at now. There is like a playing field. Just outside of there, I would catch the bus. So where I'm looking now, I would catch the bus to Healing. So it would go down here. There's a load of new houses that weren't there before that my parents used to live at. So they got a house there. The bus would go down here, along here, and then I think at some stage it would turn left. Possible I'm going to lose my old sense of direction now. I think it would turn left here. Keep going, and then where this is here, big field outside, I think that is the what's now Healing Science Academy. So I think down here there's different buildings there. That's like the old building, as we used to call it, I think. I used to throw this is terrible to admit, so if my parents are watching, I apologise. I used to throw some of the money they would give me for school lunches onto the roof of that building. So there's, if anybody actually goes on the roof of that building, they will probably find lots of 20p coins. I had no concept of what money was, and for some reason I just used to think it would be a brilliant idea to just lob money onto the roof. Yeah, that's definitely healing. 'Cause I remember the place where you were supposed to do exercise. Me and my mates just used to mess around. Shout out to everybody that we went to school with, so James and Florence and Chris and everybody else. It was some of the best times. I think all we used to do basically was quote Alan Partridge to each other and try and survive. that was my school years. So yeah, so we've seen Grimsby, we've seen where I grew up grew up for some reason. So Grimsby is off to the left there. So I suppose the question is like, which was the best Grimsby of the 4 Grimsbys, all the Grimsbys on Earth that we've been to? The one in Norway was pretty cool. That was a pretty tranquil place. The first one that we went to in near Toronto in Canada, that was pretty sweet. That, like, I like that place. The one in Illinois, assuming I got the right place, that seemed pretty remote. Like, when I'm, if I survive, I'm lucky enough to survive till I'm like 80, that'd be a pretty sweet place to retire, because I won't care about what's happening in the outside world by that point. I'll just want to be left alone, like, because that's how I imagine I will be at that age. Like, I'm already a little bit like that now, so let's face it, I'm going to be worse when I'm older. So, yeah, I feel like that would be a good place to retire. Like, that's the place that Thanos went to retire after, like, wiping out half the world. That's not what I'm going to do, by the way. I'm not Hitler or Thanos, but I'm just saying that, like, that's a sweet retirement gig. But I think this one is pretty much the OG area for me, just because I'm personally biased, because I grew up in this general location. So that's it from me. I wonder if there's anywhere that I can inappropriately land. What I could do, I guess, I could try and land in one of the fields here. Where it looks wildly inappropriate for me to land, because that's normally what I appear to do, apparently. I think one of these fields, there is a lake down there, apparently. Some water. Okay, let's try and land roughly where I grew up. Way too fast. Way too fast. There are some trees. This is going to be rough. Oh, this is going to be very rough. Okay, switched off the engine. Feel like that's a successful run. So successful landing as well. Brilliant. So thank you very much for joining me down memory lane there. That was really interesting, very scary, and I hope you enjoyed seeing all the Grimsbys on Earth, because I sure as hell did. Bye.